I did too. And Roanoke used to play that at the boarding show.
Wow.
I was working
We're highly amused.
I was working nights at WVVV 105 in Christiansburg.
VVV?
WVVV, Christiansburg, Blacksburg.
Wow.
Yeah.
Never heard those calls before.
Yep. Actually, I'm not sure those are the same callers. I think now they might be Rock 105. Yeah, probably still WVVV. But I was looking at the bios of the people on the air.
Right.
And it looked a lot more official than when I worked there. It was pretty loose back then. It was a lot of guys who, what happened was, a lot of my friends who were in college radio at WVT graduated and was like, what the hell are you going to do in communications? And I got a job in sales just because, everybody's like, yeah, I'm an engineer. I'm starting at 30 grand at blah, blah, blah. And this guy's a biochem guy and he's starting, everybody's talking about money. And I was like, oh God, radio, there's just nothing to do. Can't make any money. And so I got the sales job selling corrugated boxes, which you could make some money. You got a company car. So that was like, wow, that seemed like a cool job to start because I just thought there's no way. And my friends, Gary Saunders, who's still on the radio, by the way, he was a general manager for, I think, 2 or 3 different minor league baseball teams.
Wow.
He has a real love of sports broadcasting, and he did everything for these teams he worked for. He wrote a couple books, too, but Gary was a really talented guy, had a big voice, too. Gary, out of college, did what you were supposed to do. He took a job at WJJJ in Christiansburg, which was WVVV's sister station. So I would be getting up to drive out on my territory, which was from probably a couple hundred miles north of Blacksburg. And also I had a part of North Carolina, just the upper tip. Wow. So it was, I had a lot of driving to do. But every morning I would get up and I'd be in the car listening to Gary. Because Gary did what I want to do. But, he's making like $180 a week or something. Not even that.
Oh, see, radio's come full circle, by the way.
Yeah, sounds like it has. So I would listen to Gary and I'd be like, but that sounds like so much fun. So then I started stopping at the studio because it was on the way to Route 81, which I had to get on to go anywhere, either south to North Carolina or north to Martinsville, Roanoke, Waynesboro, wherever I was going. So I would just stop in, just say hi. And Gary was always like, hey, what's going on? And we'd kick something around, and we might even work up a bit.
Do they put you on?
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
occasionally.
Nice.
Sometimes in an alter ego. And Walt Comley was another grad. He was doing mornings on VVV, and there'd been some other guys who'd done the same thing, and they'd moved on to Roanoke, the big market, where you could make as much as $250 a week. Actually, I think I ended up making $300 a week in Roanoke at my peak. Yeah, with a little voiceover work on the side. But it just was like, God, they're having so much fun. And so I have a company car, and I got more money, but what's, when I was looking at the guys who'd been selling boxes for 30 years.
Yeah.
And I was
what they look like.
Well, they had nice clothes, they had nice cars, but they were still selling boxes. I mean, they had houses and families and all that. And I don't know. I remember finding out once that that you maxed out if you sold a certain amount, which was, because I'm always into the numbers, if you sold a certain amount, you could make $62,000. That was the max you could make in the job. I thought, wait, that's my goal in life, is to make $62,000 selling corrugated boxes. But then again, $180 a week on WJJJ or VVV. But of course, the idea was, maybe you could move up and work in a big market. But it just seemed like such a pipe dream because nobody did it.
Right.
Nobody was really able to do it. There were a few.
You could have stayed in boxes because it's a big thing these days now. And unboxing is a thing on top of boxes.
No, the box business is pretty good. There were guys, actually, my company was Continental Can Company. They were bought by Stone Container while I was there, which was a big deal. I mean, for people who'd been there for years, like, what's going to happen to our pensions? And because people had pensions back then. Yeah, right. That weird thing called pensions. Whereas I was 22 or 23, and I was like, yeah, whatever. But all I found out was that you could make more money with Stone Container. But at that point, what had happened was, like a year into my job, nights opened up at WVVV. and I'd started doing Gary, who did the AM show, where I would stop by and visit with him, and we'd drink a cup of coffee and putz around for a while he did his show. Gary got a sports talk show on Sunday night, and I started doing the sports talk show with Gary.
Oh, cool.
So I was working 6 days a week, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, it was more fun than I had all week. It was a blast.
Yeah.
So then Gary's like, hey, you know, VVV's got that night job open, and do you usually get home by 7? It's like, well, yeah, I could, but sometimes I'm stuck up in Northern Virginia for an overnight or something. He's like, well, do you think you could do it most of the time? Because it's open if you want it. So I was like,
On the radio.
Did you have to cut your last box appointment?
many times.
Make it.
Many times. And I took the job, and I did it for months. Seriously, like 7 or 8 months. I would scurry through my territory, get back, take a shower, change clothes, hurry over to the radio station, do 7 to midnight, and then come home, watch Letterman, fall asleep, and then just struggle like hell to wake up in the morning.
Wow, that's ideal, though, man.
It wasn't really ideal because of the day job, and I just kept thinking, God, it sure would be fun if I didn't have this job during the day. And so eventually I reached a point where I was starting to I would call him, yeah, I'm in Mount Airy, North Carolina. I'm calling on, this, whatever company.
Andy
Or,
Griffith.
I'm at one of the apple orchards outside of Roanoke, just checking in. Any messages? Because there were no cell phones. You had to constantly call in and check in. Maybe once a day. You could actually go a couple days without checking in. But instead of really being out making the calls, a lot of times I was catching up on sleep. And so it was reaching the
just like being out in the real working world, working a real job, like getting out of the house, it just exhausts you. It really does. It's exhausting.
Yeah.
So it reached a point where I had to decide, like, I can't keep doing this.
Right.
So, because also I had added overnights on WROV in Roanoke.
Oh, my God.
So I was
really?
working midnight to 6 on Sunday morning in Roanoke. In addition to 7 to midnight, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
And the box job.
Yeah, yeah.
What'd you do? I was actually making some money between the shitty paying job and the good paying job. So I quit the corrugated job, and that was weird because they were like, "Wait, really? You serious? Quitting?
To
Really
do
quitting?
radio?
You gonna turn in the company car?" Which was the hardest part. I had to buy a car, and that's when I bought the Chevette, the brand new Chevette, which had no extras whatsoever, no air conditioning. It didn't even have a glove box. There was a shell where the glove box was, and I think it was $44.95. I think, and I actually paid cash for it because I'd saved money. So it was like, I'm driving. As long as I can drive this Chevette, I can be in radio.
Cool.
And I think at one point I had no insurance on the Chevette too.
Well, that's per you.
Well, it was either insurance or food.
That's what it
Right,
was for me
yeah.
in Traverse City. My parents were
Yeah.
so angry, and I was like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have the money to do it.
Well, I never had to tell anyone. I just did it.
Right. Yeah.
But then the idea was
Secret.
You just can't
Get
in
in an accident.
Yeah, right. That's
Right.
all.
Yeah. Wow.
And actually getting a ticket would have been a problem too, but I don't think I was thinking about that. But I didn't get any tickets.
Yeah.
And somehow I didn't have any accidents.
Wow. You were untouchable at that point.
Yeah, sort of.
That's good.
Went to Roanoke, and that was a big move. I'm trying to think when I started at 200 a week there. I just remember going to my class reunion in what's the 5 year? Would have been 80. 5 year would have been 1986. No. 1987 was a 10 year from high school because I graduated high school in 77. And so I went to the class reunion, and at that moment I was making $270 a week. 10 years out of high school. And I did not feel good about that.
Well, you were on the radio. So there's cachet for that.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
true. I guess that was the headline that I think I used.
Yeah. Right.
But
yeah.
it just,
well,
yeah, but
you
people
should
would
put
ask.
400 down for a limo and showed up at the gig with your
I know there were a lot.
borrowed from somebody.
There were a lot of people that did that.
Really?
Took limos, yeah, and that
so
was
bogus.
that was rubbing it in my opinion. It's like that felt like they were rubbing it in.
It's pretty bogus.
Yeah. And then I got a job in Charlotte, and I thought, if I can just keep this job the rest of my life, I can live. $35,000 doing afternoons. Wow. I know, that was like, and that whole thing too of, well, how much you making there in Roanoke? Like, I forgot what I said, but I just remember saying, well, this job is a range of $25,000 to $40,000, depending on, and I was like just trying not to scream like, yes, oh my God, I will be complete poverty. Ended up getting 35, and I was so pumped. Oh my God.
Wow.
I was loaded. But that's the climb. The climb is fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Climb is exciting.
It's an adventure, and yeah, for sure.
You must have had a really, really low paying radio job.
Yeah. I think it was $11,000.
$11,000. Wait, did they
can't
call
be
it?
sure.
See, they never called it $11,000. They're like $200 a week.
Yeah, right. But this was, presented more as a salary. I think that was Toledo, like maybe the first year.
I don't think I would tell
possibly.
someone they were making $11,000 a year. That sounds too poverty stricken. I think I would give the weekly amount. That was the way it was always done to me.
Right. But then you didn't have anything to support at that point, except for
No,
yourself.
that's true.
So, yeah.
No, it was just all about you.
And I had a Mercury Montego
Yeah.
for my brother-in-law.
What year Montego?
It had to have been like, I don't know, 80-something.
That sounds pretty new.
It was, I went to, start college in 81, so I don't know. It was probably in that area.
Wait,
80.
so it was almost new.
It was.
Sounds like you were living high in the hog, woman.
Previously owned.
Woman.
Well, I worked at the bank before I went to college, though. So I had a couple of jobs. I had a telephone operator job, and then I went.
Telephone? You were an operator?
I was.
Wait, if I dialed 0, I could have talked to you?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
And that time that we tried to break into a phone call when we were making phony phone calls, we got busted by the operator. That could have been you.
That could have been me.
What would you do if someone was breaking into a phone call and you knew it was bullshit?
I wouldn't have done anything because it's no skin off my,
You would let him break into the
I
call?
would let that happen.
Okay.
I'm not the FCC or whoever governs,
Well, what happened was we were trying to get a 6th player for a football game to play 3-on-3, and somebody's mom was on the phone. Mom was on the phone. Yeah. Except we thought it was him. So we called the operator like, yeah, we need to break in on a phone call. And they're like, is it an emergency? And I was like, yes. And I think Alec was on the phone, and Triple Threat Alec, and I think he even made some ridiculous, because he was asked, well, what's the nature of the emergency? And it was a long pause, and he's like, well, he's not going to make it to the airport if I don't talk to him really soon. It was like, wow, that was pretty good. And they broke into the call, and as soon as he broke in, he's like, hey, Jeff, we need a 6th for football. Can you come on over? And the operator was listening.
Oh,
yes,
bitch!
And I know, fucking bitch. And as soon as we got off the phone, the phone rang. We're like, oh. So we're like, there's no way that's the operator. And Johnny picks it up, and he's like, he's going, no, I guess it wasn't really an emergency. No, my mom's not here.
Wanted to talk to his mom.
Yes.
Wow, I have never heard of that before.
I know, it's pretty funny.
Getting cussed out by an operator. Wow.
It put a little glitch in the football game. There was concern that the operator would be talking to his mom eventually.
I think that's exciting. Though.
I don't think she
into a call.
I know.
Wow.
We did that a few times. I don't believe the operator ever called his mom. I don't think that allegedly she was going to call his mom.
Yeah,
I know
it was a threat. It was a veiled threat.
If only I'd known you then. No, it was bullshit.
True. Yeah. It was such a one-horse, substation, though. Because that was back, oh my God.
What was that in, what town?
It was in Port Clinton, Ohio. And you had a plug stuff.
So wait, were you like Mabel? Yes. You had patch cords? Just like Mabel?
Patch cords.
Really?
That seems so archaic, but
I know.
But it was the
It actually
small town.
requires some brain power, though, to use patch cords.
And it was a small company, and so you still had to, from Port Clinton to Put-in-Bay, when it goes up here and one goes up there. That was kind of cool when you first did that. You plugged in your headphones and you went to work, man.
This show's for old-timers here. Mabel. Was it Mabel and Andy Griffith? It was, wasn't it?
I don't know. There were a couple of them.
Brandon, do you have any idea what's going on here?
Sarah.
No.
It was Sarah.
I'm listening.
Not even the radio part?
Oh no, I'm interested in that.
Speaking of old timey things, they Ford just caved in to
AM radio?
yeah to AM radio. They're like whatever.
I can't believe
Screw
they
it.
did that.
We'll do that. Yeah.
I'm seriously surprised they did that.
Yeah,
Like, why?
because of the old coots in Congress who are like, it's safety. You have to have another.
Bullshit. Who has ever been saved by AM radio in an
We
emergency?
do the emergency. I mean, FM radio, all radio has to do that, and
That
so
was-
no one's saved by just an AM radio.
That was, in my opinion, the biggest crock for them to even suggest that.
Yeah.
That people find out about emergencies through AM radio.
No,
when
no
they
one
have
does.
phones.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
nice try.
Right.
But honestly, I sort of thought about it and I thought, okay, I think I know what's going to happen.
Mm.
In a few years, car makers are just not going to put AM or FM in the car.
Right,
It's going to be
yeah.
everything is out the fuck out at once. Because
Yeah.
radio listenership is really dwindling.
No.
You can get it on your phone
That's
anyway.
weird.
You can.
I know.
I mean, no, that's not a bad. I don't think that's a bad thing, though. I mean, in fact, I would encourage it if I were on the radio.
I think the audience measurement would be more exact in that way.
Well,
Going-
the diary method, the way they do it is insane. I mean, the meters or whatever, the meter would pick it up
Yeah.
off your phone. I just think everyone does everything on their phones now. So you're not around a radio all the time, but you're around your phone all the time. So why not? I mean, why not emphasize the fact that you can listen live on the phone?
Right.
And I do a lot of times when, for example, when there is a breaking, this is not an example that would affect you, but if there's like a sports story just hits like that around 1:30, I will listen live to 97.1 because I know Valenti's coming up at 2 o'clock and whatever it is, he'll be all over it and he'll be very opinionated. He'll be very opinionated about it. And so that's nice. I can just sit in my kitchen. I'm going to go to the car and turn on the radio in the car. I bet you there's a lot of people that would think, well, that's how I would have to do it if I
Right.
wanted to hear whatever it was, the breaking sports story. But
Yeah.
no,
Yeah.
you can listen on your phone. I don't know.
Except there's going to be a group of people, some dumb idiot who doesn't charge his phone, and so he gets swept up into the tornado or whatever it is.
Do you ever listen to radio on your phone, Brandon?
Yeah.
people.
Normally, when I'm just looking for something, when I'm looking for a Barbara call,
Oh, are you surprised though that there isn't more emphasis on that? Wouldn't that make more sense if radio got people to listen to radio on their phone?
Sure. And
Because
I
it's
think,
right there.
yeah, and I think that you see tune-ins and iHearts trying their best to make that possible.
that does get. I mean, we do get credit for.
Oh yeah, you get credit, sure, because it's picked up by the meter.
You know what Doug said though? Part of it too were big AM stations, and Detroit doesn't really have a really big AM station, an AM sports station. Say,
No, but WWJ is,
well, yeah.
I would think
yeah.
they'd be on FM by
They would
now.
go, right, because the
Why are
sound,
they not on FM?
When I listen to them, and I love, their reporting is solid. Their newsroom is impressive, but
Even with the 150%
Jacina.
of the people they used to have,
oh yeah, that's true.
they have dumped a
very
lot of
sad.
people.
But-
No, it sucks.
But you've got your big, very big, clear channel AM radios that.
Well, a 760 is a clear channel.
They applied all this, other pressure besides the old coots in Congress. So that it was those
No.
two factors, and Ford's just like, whatever, we'll do it.
Yeah, 760. What it is I think there are 10 clear channels. This is really nerdy stuff in the United States, and 760 is one of them. Is 1000 AM in Chicago? I want to say the Loop.
Yeah, I
or
think
maybe
so.
it's WGN 720. I'm not sure. There's one in New Orleans. I think there's one in. Let's see, what else is a clear channel? Is KDKA in Pittsburgh clear channel? What that means is anyone who has that frequency, very few people have that frequency in other cities, and if they do, they have to power down at night. And the
yeah.
clear channel can boom,
Right.
the great voice of the Great Lakes, because JR is in multiple states, because people have to turn their transmitters down if they're on 760. I think even people around that frequency may have to. And that's what I used to forget to do at WROV. I'd get a call at so we had to reduce power at 7 o'clock. It'd be like 8 o'clock on Saturday night, and I get a call on the hotline. It would be the station in Greensboro, and they go, "Are you at full power right now?" And I would always say, "No, and I would pull the power down. They'd say, we're getting calls that there's interference with our signal, which is really weird. And, of course, I would lie and then just go, ka-chunk. Surprised I couldn't hear it because it was like a giant lever.
Really? Oh, that's cool, though.
I used to forget all the time.
But you didn't have anything going up, did you? I mean, you weren't putting any...
Yes.
There was no
Yeah, it was on at 250. It was on at
content.
250 watts.
Oh, so you were
we went
still
through a mighty 1,000 watts to 250 watts.
Wow.
So I was operating at 4 times my legal power.
How far did that get at 1,000?
Not very far.
Down the block.
I felt like a pretty powerful man to be at 4
bet.
times my allowed power by the Federal Communications Commission.
Whoa.
And I told my boss about it once because we were pretty good friends, and he laughed hysterically about me turning it down while I'm on the phone with the guy. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we've been at 250 since 7:15, whatever the time is. Jesus Christ.
And the signal immediately went...
I know. Of course, he would suggest that maybe it was, maybe that's NSB again. WNSB, they do it all the time. They leave your power up. Yeah, it must be those assholes.
Agreed, yeah.
And then I also forgot to turn the power off once on a station that was only allowed to stay on until it was a sundowner where you signed on when the sun went up, whatever that legal time was. It changed during the year, and then you had to power down when the sun went down.
So weird.
Because I was live on the AM while the FM was in automation, which was this thing where they would give you literally the list of songs that were on the reels, which would take turns running. They had secondary tones on them to fire the next event, and your voice was one of the events in the sequence. Wow. So you knew that that was Genesis throwing it all away, and here's Led Zeppelin, Whole Lot of Love on V105. And the thing was, if there was a storm or something, it would screw the thing up, and you would back announce the wrong song.
Oh, my
God. It would be out of Led
no.
Zeppelin. You go, that's Phil Collins and Genesis. Yeah, I know. And it was like, oh, my God. Yeah, it didn't happen that often, but once in a while. So, but it was a lot to do to be live on one, which you really give a shit about, and then you're in automation on the other one, and you had to come in ahead of time and cut those liners and then plug the cart into the automation. So, anyway, when the AM signed off, which was probably probably 8 o'clock on the summertime, 8:15.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, darker later. So I'd sign off, and then I'd go live on the FM. It was like, well, I don't have to play the line. I had to be there anyway. So I was like, I'd much rather be live, and I'd fuck off and play songs out of the format and
really?
Talk and take calls and absolutely.
And your friend was still the program director?
Well, no, I wasn't as friendly with the program director there, but on Saturday night, it was a little looser.
Yeah.
Now, as far as, substituting songs, that wasn't too cool, but nobody's listening on Saturday night. I mean, the PD had stuff to do. I think I got busted a time or two, but it wasn't that big a deal. I mean, they acted like it was a big deal, but I think maybe I'd achieved a certain amount of cachet by that time.
Really? Oh,
possibly.
You're gonzo.
Yeah. The Gonzo nighttime show. No, so I would go live, and it was a lot of fun. It was like, I'm on the FM, I'm live, because I was usually stuck. That was what was so stupid about it. It's like, why are we pre-recording the FM and live on the AM?
Yeah.
And it was just
opposite.
Yeah, it made no fucking sense whatsoever. But it was at that time when AM and FM were still sort of equals, and the AM had always outbilled the FM.
Right.
So they wanted the AM was more important than the FM. It was like, you fucking idiots! This is on stereo, and you're playing music on the AM too. What the fuck are you thinking about? But old times,
right,
and old habits die hard. So anyway, when I got done on the FM and signed off at midnight, I had to record commercials.
Yeah.
So I recorded in the other studio, the AM studio, and I forgot to turn the power off. So
it's just chugging along.
I'm recording the commercial live on the air.
Oh!
Yeah. But who would be okay? So I'm doing that, and then all of a sudden I see the phone ringing, and it's the police dispatch, and they tell, Yeah, someone is live on 1260 AM, and it seems like they're cutting a commercial, and they sound like they're screwing it up. And it was me going like, yeah, be sure to visit, John's Widgets at 123 Main Street. Fuck! I was swearing. Yeah, and they've been swearing, and,
Oh, my God.
And the first thing I wanted to go is, why are you listening to 1260? They've been off the air for 6 hours. What are you doing listening to 1260?
Oh, it's
you
their
assholes?
fault.
It's your fault. But and once again, it was just like Roanoke. It was like, I don't know what's going on. Turned the power off. But I could see the levels of my voice in the conversation on the meter thinking, that's on the air. This conversation is on the air. But fortunately, the dispatcher was the only idiot listening to 1260 AM at that time.
Oh my God,
But-
Brandon, I would kill for those tapes.
I know.
right?
I had sleepless nights.
I wish we could.
I had sleepless
somehow-
nights. I was really worried. I thought I was going to get fired for sure. Mostly because of the swearing, but also it was pretty stupid. And plus, I was having so much fun on the FM. I just was like, oh, thank God we put that stupid station to bed, which is the one they really cared about.
Yeah.
So I could go be live on the FM and play cool music.
Right. Doug's told me so many stories about catching people, and this was on RIF too.
Busting people playing music out of the
Thought
format.
he was out of town or something like that, and he would hear it, and then he'd just, he'd call it. He hotlined him.
Yeah, Doug is not the guy I would want to be hotlined by if I was playing out of format. So does he bust him for playing songs out of format?
Oh yeah, I think somebody. I don't know which one it was, but he was just playing this like super long extended song, and maybe like a couple of songs from
Take a
Friends or
dump.
something like that.
I had to take a dump. What are you talking about?
Way out of format.
Well, I see there's a 6-minute song on the schedule anyway. Why couldn't you wait for that?
Yeah,
No, people don't play songs so they can take a dump. They play songs because they want to.